that in mind and just remember what we're doing and why we're doing it.
But I just have to
But
ask
it is a little surreal.
What if getting fired from the company you built was the best thing that ever happened to you? That's exactly what happened to Steve Jobs. And it didn't break him, it built him. Rejection didn't end his story, it rewrote it. Jobs didn't just bounce back, he came back sharper, bolder, and more visionary than ever. What followed wasn't just a return, it was a revolution. In this breakdown, we're looking at key ways Steve Jobs turned personal and professional rejection into one of the greatest comebacks in business history.
Our goal is to make the best personal computers in the world and to make products we are proud to sell and would recommend to our family and friends.
These lessons aren't just inspirational, they're tactical. Let's unpack how failure became fuel for one of the most iconic legacies in tech. When Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985, it was personal. The company he built turned against him. But instead of letting it kill his dream, he let it kill his ego. That difference changed everything. He didn't abandon his belief in innovation. He just dropped the arrogance that made collaboration difficult. He admitted he'd made mistakes.
It's not what's important, it's not, what makes you come to work in the morning. It's not why any of our customers buy our products. Apple was about 90 days.
He slowed down, listened more, and came back stronger. Rejection stripped him of pride, but not purpose. That reset allowed him to rebuild, with sharper vision and better execution. Sometimes rejection isn't the end of your story, it's the edit your story needed.
Actually, the parent company you work for, Disney, has been one of the companies that's been beta testing the iPhone, and you might have seen...
After Apple, Jobs didn't wait for another corporate title or safe opportunity. He built Next, a computer company aimed at revolutionizing education and enterprise. It didn't explode commercially, but it laid the groundwork for Apple's future. Even more, it showed Jobs didn't need validation to keep creating.
iPhone can replace the BlackBerry, a BlackBerry like this, in many work environments? Is that something you strive for?
Well, that's up to customers to decide. We're just going to give them the best iPhone.
Rejection didn't stop him, it freed him. Next technology eventually became the backbone of Mac OS. The world didn't cheer him on at first. He moved anyway. That's the play. You don't wait for green lights, you build your own lane. Rejection gave Jobs something rare: complete creative control. And he used it to lay his comeback. While building Next, Jobs made a wild bet. He bought a struggling animation division from Lucasfilm and turned it into Pixar. At the time, it looked like a distraction. But Jobs believed in the creative talent there and backed it with everything he had. For years, Pixar lost money, but Jobs stuck with it, worked closely with animators, and eventually released Toy Story, the first fully computer animated film. It changed animation forever and turned Pixar into a billion-dollar powerhouse. Pixar wasn't just a win, it was proof that Jobs could build magic outside of Apple. Rejection had forced him to reinvent. Jobs once admitted that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to him. It freed him to be a beginner again.
Because once you give it to developers, you want to live with it for the next 20 years, right?
That beginner mindset changed how he approached everything. He took more creative risks. He started challenging assumptions again instead of managing politics. The Steve Jobs who returned to Apple wasn't cautious. He was fearless. Getting burned taught him that playing it safe doesn't prevent failure. It just delays it. So he stopped optimizing for comfort and started building what truly mattered. Rejection taught him that survival isn't about avoiding risk. It's about chasing purpose with clarity. Jobs didn't run to the media or try to control the narrative after being ousted. He stayed quiet and went to work. That silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. While the tech world moved on, Jobs disappeared into his lab at NXT and the creative trenches at Pixar.
Steve Jobs likely to be his gaudiest.
What exceeded our expectations. It's about 180 million right now, I think, at domestic box office.
He was building, not begging. And when he returned, he didn't come back with stories. He came back with results. Silence gave him space to rethink, rebuild, and re-emerge. In a world obsessed with loud comebacks, Jobs kept it quiet and let the work do the talking. That's how revolutions start, in silence. Jobs didn't try to rebrand himself as someone new. He didn't chase trends or pivot into management cliches. Instead, he doubled down on what he always stood for: excellence, simplicity, and creative boldness. He just got better at executing it. He fine-tuned his standards. He pushed people harder, but smarter. He kept the intensity but cut the chaos. That refinement changed how teams worked under him. When he came back to Apple, it wasn't a new Steve Jobs.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard.
It was a sharpened one. Rejection didn't push him to reinvent himself. It forced him to perfect the original version. Post-rejection, Jobs stopped caring about what the industry expected. He started obsessing over what the user actually needed. That shift changed Apple forever. When he returned, he slashed the product line and focused on making a few things great. The iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, all built with the user experience as the core. He didn't try to impress Silicon Valley. He tried to serve real people with real problems. Rejection humbled him, and humility gave him perspective. That's how you create products people don't just use, but love. Focus on the human and everything else follows. Jobs was known for being intense, sometimes unbearable. But after his fall, he learned that great leadership isn't about domination, it's about direction. At Pixar and Next, he practiced collaboration in a way he hadn't before.
The whole premise for Apple's existence is to come up with better products, highly differentiated, better products.
When he came back to Apple, he brought that evolution with him. He was still demanding, but more strategic. He knew when to push, when to step back, and when to trust his team. That change in leadership style helped Apple scale without collapsing under pressure. Rejection didn't soften him, it refined him. And that made him far more powerful than before. Jobs didn't rush his return. He let time do its work. Years passed between his exit and Apple's decision to bring him back. Most people would have tried to force a comeback. Not him. He played the long game. He let Next evolve. He waited until Pixar broke through. He didn't chase validation. And when Apple finally came calling, it was on his terms. Rejection forced him to slow down, and in that slow burn, he rebuilt his empire. Timing wasn't just luck, it was restraint. Patience wasn't passive, it was power.
The latest stuff where you can really put your whole digital life on your computer. You can make films on your computer, you can make blogs and podcasts on your computer.
Jobs always cared about design. But after Rejection, design became more than aesthetics, it became a language for meaning. He began focusing not just on how things looked, but how they felt. The goal wasn't just usability, it was emotional connection. That's why Apple products felt different. Every curve, click, and screen told a story. Rejection gave Jobs a new lens. People don't just want tools, they want experiences. By blending technology with feeling, he created a brand that people didn't just use, but connected with. That wasn't a marketing trick. That was personal evolution turned product philosophy. When Jobs came back to Apple, he didn't start from scratch, but he didn't coast either. He stripped the company down, rebuilt its culture, and redefined its purpose. He killed 70% of the product line. He focused Apple on just a few bets. That wasn't just smart, it was bold. Most comebacks are cautious. Jobs went all in. He returned to the core of what Apple could be.
Resource even more on what was remaining and add a few new things in.
Not what it was. He didn't just make a comeback. He made a statement. Rejection gave him the freedom to take risks that others wouldn't. And that's what created the Apple we know today. Even at his lowest, Jobs believed his instincts were right. He didn't always know when they'd pay off, but he trusted that they would. That self-belief, even when no one agreed with him, kept him building, kept him pushing, kept him going. Rejection didn't shake that. It clarified it. He stopped trying to convince people in the moment. He started playing the long game where results would speak louder than vision alone. That's how revolutions work: belief first, then proof. And Jobs had both. Eventually, Rejection didn't destroy Steve Jobs. It refined him. It made him smarter, sharper, more dangerous, in the best way. He didn't let failure define him. He let it rewire him. And from that, he didn't just make a comeback. He changed the world, again. If you're facing rejection right now, remember it's not the end. It might just be the pressure that shapes your edge. If this inspired you, like, comment, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more stories that don't just motivate, but give you the playbook for your own revolution.